Women in Politics is the program, and the program showcases women, of course, in politics. When we say women, the first thing that comes to mind is train a girl child and you've trained a nation. So why are women not actively participating in politics? This and more we've come to seek answers to here today. I'm here in the office of Amy Oyekunle of Kudirat's Initiative for Democracy, and I hope she's going to do justice to the main questions we have for her on this edition of Women in Politics. Good afternoon. Thank you. And how are you?
Fine.
Okay. Thank you so much for accepting us.
Coming.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program Women in Politics. And like I said earlier, this is Amy Oyekunle, the Executive Director of Kudirat's Initiative for Democracy, KIND. It's good to have you join us on Women in Politics.
A pleasure.
Let's go straight to the issue of women. There have been so many campaigns talking about women participation in all spheres of life, especially politics. Women have been agitating. We've had so many workshops, so many summits, so many this, so many that. Will you say, from your own opinion, that we are achieving the essence of those many campaigns yet?
Well, you know, to answer your question, there are several layers in place. It's not just one thing. Yes, there has been an increase in the last decade of women's programs, of women training workshops, women's advocacy, and women coming out in general. Your question was, are we making any progress?
Yes.
Yes, because you see, one of the things that is happening is that now there's more awareness to the fact that women are indeed able to become leaders. So the awareness is there. When we started, we were working with a zero kind of awareness, because I remember when we started in 2005, 2006, we had a program. It was very few women that came out. Why are women? You know, we had issues like people saying, why should women come out? Now that is not a question. It's no longer a question that somebody is asking. So the awareness is there. We have more and more negotiations going on in the back of office, in the back of the room, with regards to political parties increasing women's participation at all levels, not just as members, but even on the level of executive. We are now saying that, look, we don't want women to just be card-carrying members. We want women to be part of that executive, part of that ESCO. We want women to be able to come out and contest. And so we see more push-pull happening, and we see some action, not as much action as...
Because I was going to ask that you were still talking about awareness, talking about action. Does it mean we're still waiting for like 10, 20 years if we're still at the level of awareness, and probably the action will be taking that long?
God, I hope not. I really honestly hope not. But one of the things that we also have to understand is that Nigeria being a very patriarchal society, some of these things will take not so much as time, but a process. And I think that sometimes we have to speed and expedite the process, which is what many organizations like KIND is doing. We're saying, okay, you know what? It's not enough to say, okay, let women contest on a level playing field. How about we start pushing for certain actions? So for example, Affirmative Action. Nigeria is one of those signatories that signed up to
35%?
Yeah. So now it is about putting action.
I was speaking to a woman leader recently, precisely Fumilayo Tejuosho of Lagos State House of Assembly, and she says that enough of waiting for men to give us these positions.
Oh, yes, I agree.
What are we doing? Because most times when you ask questions, you find women giving arguments of, we are the mothers of the nation. And I ask, is that enough to make us get positions? Or what exactly should women be doing to get this position? Because there is this national gender policy It was the one that brought about 35% affirmative action. Do you just say because they are women, their mothers, get these positions for free or something?
I think it depends. It was how the argument started. When we started in Women in Development, it was, oh, let us not be confrontational with asking for these things. Let us speak to men in a language that they understand. We are your wives, we are your sisters, we are your mothers.
Like.
Exactly, like, okay. And that in itself is not yielding the results, because you are going like a cap in hand kind of mentality. We are begging for these things, and my position and the position that we take when we do our leadership program, particularly for young girls, is it is your right. It is an inalienable right of every person to want to contest, to aspire. It's part of the Constitution, and so there's nothing wrong with that. What we do have is man-made structures that stop you from going out. So one of the things that many women are dealing with is the threat of violence. That's going to be meted out to them if they come out to contest. It is having to seek permission from husbands and, you know, boyfriends and men in their family.
Yes, coming to that, the structure of the home, even going to religion, you find the man is the head of the home. And so when you get out into the society, even at workplace, you find men saying, this place is dirty, you're a woman, aren't you supposed to? You understand that. Can we break through that culture of a woman is supposed to be subordinate to a man, which is reflecting in our political arena? Yes,
it is very, very much reflective of what we're dealing with right now. So, but you know, it's a good question, and it's a question that I wish and I hope I had an answer to, but it's something that we're constantly battling with, because even in women themselves, we find that, well, even though I want to be a successful politician or a successful businessman, it's important for me to take care of my home. It's important for me to take care of my husband. It's important for me to, until we transcend that fact. And I'm not negating that is important. I'm married, I have a home, and my home is important. But again, we need to be able to balance it out and say, look, you know what? I need to do this. I was born to do this. I was created to do this. And until I'm doing this, I don't feel any sense of accomplishment. And that is where we need to get both women and men to be thinking. It's something that I haven't, like I said, I haven't an answer for, or no one NGO has a solution for. And say, okay, this is what worked in Rwanda. This is what worked in South Africa. This is what worked in the US, and it will work in Nigeria. No, unfortunately not. Okay, let's break it down a little. Ours has become a society where one man cannot provide for the house.
True.
And the woman has to assist, like the men make it sound, it's an assistance. In a situation where the mother is working, the father is working, and it gets to a time where there are challenges in the home and someone has to make a sacrifice. Who is supposed to make the sacrifice? Yes, let's break it down that way. For the sake of the home and the children. Of course, it is usually expected that the woman be the one to make the sacrifice. I put expected because sometimes expectations and reality differ. I know many situations whereby many friends of mine, many homes, the woman is the one bringing home the baking. And the average Nigerian person would say, Otifori Egbakbaro, that kind of thing. Let us call a spade a spade. You know, in truth, sometimes it is all these stereotypes that kind of keep us where we are. What is so wrong with a man taking care of the children and taking care of the house? But you would have society say, this man has given you something to chop. She has told you what to do, so therefore these are the kind of things that is why you can't go out and walk, or she has cooked you, that is why. No, sometimes it depends on where we are, and depends on the particular economic situation we find ourselves. The woman is the one that her job is paying, and so when it comes to that terms of sacrifice and everything, then it automatically should be the one that is, not paying enough. The way I see it is, both of us brought children into this world. I didn't pregnant myself. Well, I could do, but and so both of us have a responsibility to these children. Now, of course, where it's a situation whereby I'm earning, I don't know, 3-4 million, and I have to be all over the place, and you probably are not earning that, but it doesn't negate the respect I would have for you as my husband, and vice versa. But we want to hold on to, a man is a man, no, you can't do that. And in a way, that is one of the issues or challenges that we have today. The way people think about us, the perception that we have of ourselves. And when we train in our programs, we tell people that, look, you know what, it's your perception, where you see yourself. When we ask many women, do you see yourself as leaders? No, a man is my leader. I can't see myself as a leader. When you ask them to name examples of leaders, they, of course, they rarely call.
Scarcely mention women.
Scarcely. And if they want, what is a true leader? What defines a true woman as a leader is how well she has been able to do her home, or how well she's doing her this. That woman that she's there. So if you check, I'm sure our home is scattered. Maybe it is, maybe it is not. Have you asked?
I don't think the election was actually. What are the people saying?
5 local government out of the 13 local government is more than many states in the north.
The economy is booming. Where is the economy booming? Bomb blast in Abuja.
Don't you have security?
Why are we fighting?
Presidency should not just sit in Abuja or in Asokoro or wherever he lives.
Senators are sponsoring the local arm. They know them.
Men cannot be there and be there at the same time.
The life of the citizens, community need to be protected.
It can't work out.
Bring the message of peace. Let there be proper devolution of power from the center. The center is too powerful.
The People, only on Core TV News.
What of a situation where women, because it is the fact on ground that some men do not allow their women go into politics for so many reasons they feel will crush their home. She would not have time for the children, and you know they say power intoxicates. Maybe when she gets power, we've had leaders, even women leaders in this country, with some spots on their white garments saying the way they treat their husband because they have power. And we've seen feminist movements over the years. Do you think women should opt for that, say, okay, we're women, we can stand alone, we can do without men if they're going to be obstacles to a journey to success?
There are those people who fight for that kind of argument. I'm not one of those, you see, because I believe that both women and men have a part to play in this society. I believe that women and men bring different things and bring different strengths to the table. That is my argument. So I would say that I wouldn't say, and in many cases, yes, if a man is going to be an impediment to wherever it is that you want to go there, many women say, to hell with him, I don't need him, I will do what I have to do. And history is rife with women who have done that. However, what I would say is that politics anywhere in the world is a very serious business. It's a business that doesn't require going into it haphazardly. It's not something that, I wake up today, I think I will join politics. I think I will join PDP or APC. No, it's something that you really must have a calling for, whether you are a woman or a man. It's something that you must be passionate for and say, okay, I'm going into this. It's no half measures.
Oh, yeah. One of the arguments, too, that was put up in reasons as a reason why women are not successful in politics, successful quote and unquote now, is the fact that they don't have the economic backup, talking about financial realities, talking about campaigns. We know how expensive campaigns can be. And you've been the executive director of Kind for some years now. 10 years. How do you think women can get this financial reality?
Well, the beginning is to understand that there is a financial reality. You would be required to have funds. It's I've met many politicians, South Africans, both in Nigeria, South Africa, in different countries. You are required or expected to have at least a modicum of funds that you say, okay, this is what I can, even begin your campaign. But normally what we always tell our women, because when it comes to politics, the way it is done in Nigeria, you can never compete with a man in terms of funds. Well, unless you have an oil well somewhere, but in truth, you can never compete. So sometimes it's about making politics about issues. Now, there are several steps to go about this. First of all, was before you begin to even aspire to contest for elections, are you known in your community? Do you know what the issues are in your community? Some people just come out. A few years ago, in 2006, I went for a meeting in Abuja. The meeting was hosted by United Nations Women, UNIFEM then, it was called UNIFEM. And they brought in women from all over the country, bus-loaded women who were talking about political agenda in preparation for 2007. And there was this woman that came in and she was going around handing out flyers and campaign stickers. And she was And I was like, okay, yeah. They brought in different women that were aspiring or thinking of aspiring. And I looked at it and she was contesting for president of Nigeria. And I'm thinking, really? Really? First of all, she hasn't been in the country for 20 years. She was some nurse in one of the countries in the US. And you're coming in and you can't say you're aspiring for local government. Listen, you want to do president. Come on.
So it means sometimes we
sometimes sometimes our reality is really skewed. I read somewhere that says that sometimes it is better for you to aspire to a position lower than what you think you deem.
Okay, let's talk to issues making the news in Nigeria. Of recent, we've had abduction of over 200 girls in Chibok, Borno State, and there have been protests upon protests and protests and protests. Somehow, some people are beginning to have the opinion that most of these protests are politically motivated, that some are just looking for cheap popularity through the protests. What's your reaction to that?
To be honest, I don't agree. I think that it's easy for people to say people are looking for cheap popularity because now they are beginning to see some results as a result of the protests. And
You're part of one too?
Yes, I've been part of several, behind the scenes, of course. But before these girls were abducted in Chibok, abductions had been going on for quite some time. Before the whole breeze blew, and pardon my English, you were able to see the
Nyash of the fire.
There have been so many issues going on. Now, because it wasn't there in your face, in forefront, many people don't know. When they kidnapped these girls, there were so many things. People took to the street. How are we even sure that it happened? We even had that being said by the leadership. How are we sure this is not a gimmick? And you know what I tell those people? You know what? Get over yourself. It's not about you. It never has been and it never will be.
On the daily this morning, Nigerians encourage corruption besides June first up the punch newspaper. And Nigerian government forum calls for Oyekunle to be elected
says new PDP.
Page 2 of the punch newspaper. The dailies every day on Core TV News.
In reaction to the abduction of the young girls, we had the First Lady of Nigeria, Patience Jonathan. She took to the airwaves and we saw her pour out emotions. Some have said, why would she do that? Some have even described it as made for TV tears. And some have said, yes, everybody has emotions. She's just been emotional that children of this country are being taken away by demented people. What do you feel about that?
I watched that video after the fact, after it had happened. I try not to watch a lot of stuff, but I watched it and there's no doubt that she was emotional about something. For me, jury is still out on what exactly she was emotional about. Was it emotional about the fact that the girls were kidnapped? Or was it emotional about the fact that processes weren't followed? Or was it emotional about the fact that she feels that people are trying to lie about her husband? I'm still trying to understand what exactly was she emotional about. What I expected from the First Lady of the country is a proper speech on how they were appalled by what has happened and how their hearts goes out to the family, particularly the mothers of these girls, and how they will do everything within their power to ensure that something like this never happens again. I didn't see that on that video. Or maybe there was another video it happened. But on this particular video, I didn't see it. So for me, I'm confused. No, scrap that, I'm not confused. I'm very clear about what was. So for me, it was neither here nor there. For the First Lady of a country, or for the first person of a country, those are the first things that should be uttered. That shows empathy, that shows that you understand the situation, that shows that you are in charge of your office, that shows that you are in charge of, to an extent, quote unquote, of what is going on. It gives a sense of, wow, okay. It doesn't throw confusion, and what that video did, it threw confusion into the air, and that wasn't right.
And some have said maybe that is why Never be good leaders because
I don't. I know. You see, that for me, that is wrong. When a woman is hard, they say she's too hard. Margaret Thatcher, Iron Lady. When she's too soft, she's too soft. The way I see it is that women are emotional creatures. Men are too. To be honest, when we are born, we are all socialized. They don't tell a baby from birth not to cry. Say, oh, you are a man, stop crying. Or you're a boy, don't cry. It is as we grow up that we're socialized to say, don't cry, you're a man. You can cry, you're a girl. Don't cry, you're a man. And that is what we all grew up with. If not, I think that sometimes, and that is probably what is missing in Nigeria, we should all be allowed to show emotions as and when it is due and when it is necessary. But know that there is a space and time for emotion, and there's a space and time that is not supposed to be there. And I don't agree to that reason. I say, oh, women are emotional creatures. Sometimes we need to bring a little bit of emotion into play. We need to bring it, because you see, the way I see it is, and I could be wrong, I could be right, if a woman was in charge in terms of Borno State or maybe even around that northwest area, and I stand corrected. Northeast, I stand corrected. Maybe we would have seen some action by now.
Oh, really? So maybe 2015 elections, we should be checking for more women participation, even though primaries are being concluded already.
So my organization was one of those who, or has been one of those who has been part of women in politics. And in 2003, in 2006, 7, we saw some progress. Women, it went up to 8%. By 2011, it dropped a little bit. 2015, I'm not very hopeful.
Why say that?
You know, with every passing election, or with every passing 4 years, people now begin to understand that there's something in that leadership. There's something there that I need to get. Unfortunately, that something is not about going in there and making a difference and making life better for people. That something is about how much, how well I can take. And because there's no deterrent, so to speak, there's no consequential action for what you do. People can get in there, do what they want, and get out. And tomorrow they'll come out and contest as president or governor. The slate is wiped clean. So every Tom, Dick, and Harry feels that, oh, this is my comeuppance. And until that changes, until people are made to account for their actions, until voters begin to demand their right and demand that the leaders that they elected be accountable to them, I don't see anything.
I want you to say something to viewers concerning the forthcoming elections, general elections in 2015, because when elections are drawing near, you find politicians trying to mobilize crowd, and they go to women leaders. It is then you begin to hear market leader. It's then you begin to hear community women leaders. What are these women supposed to do during elections?
I will add that not just women. I will add that everybody that is a leader, a community leader. I think this is what I want people to understand, that when they say your vote is yours, it is true. It is so true. If you elect idiots or you elect monkeys, you get peanuts, as they say. It is your vote. Now, somebody can impose and come and meet you and say, oh, for this bag of rice or for this 5,000 naira, vote for me. And we understand that there's poverty, yes. But don't let poverty push you to make a mistake that you will regret for 4 years.
So are you thinking they should return and vote, or take and still vote what they want?
Some people will say take is yours anyway. It's your money.
So what do you say?
I say do what your conscience tells you to do. We all have it. We all have it.
But if you're given money, bags of rice, what will your conscience tell you?
I won't take it. I won't take it. But then again, I am privileged. I am privileged to know that once you take something, you are corrupted. I'm privileged to know that you can't eat with the devil and expect that he will let you go. I'm privileged to know, and I'm privileged to know that I have choices. I'm privileged to know what those choices are. I can look at you and tell you no. I will not vote for you because you haven't shown a record. I'm privileged to be educated, which is what many of those girls in Chibok are being denied today, and many other people in Nigeria are being denied today. I'm privileged to know that, you know what, I might not have money in my pocket right now, but I will work damn hard and I would get what I want. But many people are not able. Many people are not, and some people are just greedy. They're just, okay, well, we boys are, okay, you know. But let me remind everybody, you see, you live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. You see, that thing which you are protecting now, the corruption and the lies and everything they're telling you, it will kill you tomorrow. Make no mistake, it will kill you tomorrow. Because tomorrow when they come in drones, you can't say no, because you have already taken from them. What I advise many people to do is, 2015 is our year. We have had 4 years or 3 years plus to see what is possible. Vote wisely. I'm not saying who you should vote for, but vote wisely.
Okay, rounding off now, we're going to go back to the 35% affirmative action. The question on my mind is, why must there be a percentage? Why can't we say fair play? Or is that 35% okay by you?
Well, we've had that argument many times. Many people say, oh, that is tokenism. I want to go by merit. Now, like it started with 30%, and it wasn't something that was thought of by Nigerians or for Nigerians alone. It was something that was internationally thought of. And that is because they understood, they recognized that there is no level playing field for women. So if you say, okay, let us do fair play, women will always lose. Because before women get into the parties, they are weeded out. By the time they get into the parties before primaries, they are weeded out. By the time they get into positions or something happens, they are weeded out. So by the time you do all that, you don't have, you will look and you can't find. It's like the more you look, the more you can't find. And so they said 35%. What that means basically is you are keeping a certain quota, or you are ensuring that, you know what, at any point in time when we are doing anything, we are looking at where are the women. We are conscious of the fact that, you know what, it's 100%. We can only take 65%. This 35% must be filled by women. And so you are obligated to go and look for that 35% of women. You can't just sit down in your party and say, hey, where are the women? They are not coming. You have to actively go and look for women.
Linking up Kudirat Abiola to the recent day woman, to the contemporary woman, we all know Kudirat Abiola as an activist who was actually martyred because she was fighting for the release of her husband because of the 1993 election that Abiola has been said to have won.
Yes.
How would you relate her spirit to the woman of today?
She was a fighter. She had a sense of, a clear sense of what she wanted to happen in her time. She wasn't daunted. I mean, she still is the one that has, that they said, remember the strike, the 3 weeks that crippled the country for the New Pen strike. And I think that's one of the reasons why she was killed. But her spirit lives on in every woman, I think. Each person has a little bit of Kudrat in them. Very few of them actualize it. Very few of them build it and fan it and let it go up. But Kudrat lives on. And I think what she continues to show women, and me in particular, is that they can silence you any which way they like. But you know what? Ultimately, you will not be silenced.
Because your spirit lives on. Okay, and that's the keyword for Women in Politics for this edition. Thank you so much, Amy Oyekunle, for your time with us in Women in Politics.
Thank you.
And I hope the reception will be better than this next time we come.
Definitely.
Fight as a woman. Do not be pushed inside because you're scared of this, you're scared of that. Speak. Let your voice be heard. And you know what? Even if you are forced into silence, your spirit would speak after that. You have potentials in you. Do not die regretting that you could have done this or that. Let your potentials come into play. And you must always remember that you will be called to account someday for every breath taken on earth. That's it on this edition of Women in Politics. Join me again for next edition, which would be more exciting. Once again, I am Oyekunle Adekunle. Thank you.